For more than 3,000 years, one woman's name has refused to fade into history. Her face became a symbol of beauty, her reign shattered ancient traditions, and her disappearance left questions that remain unanswered to this day. This is the story of Queen Nefertiti. She ruled beside Amenhotep IV during one of the most volatile periods in ancient Egypt. Together, they abandoned the old gods and imposed a radical new faith, placing absolute power in their own hands and igniting unrest throughout the kingdom. Revered as the mistress of Upper and Lower Egypt, Nefertiti was far more than a queen. She was a priestess and a mother, a political revolutionary, and an icon of beauty, and possibly even a pharaoh in her own right. This is the story of her extraordinary life and the mystery surrounding her death. To understand her rise, we must return to the Egyptian religious revolution. The identity of Nefertiti's parents remains unknown, though several theories persist. The most widely accepted suggests she was the daughter of a powerful royal advisor named Ai, who would later ascend the throne following the death of King Tutankhamun. A less popular theory proposes that Nefertiti may have been Akhenaten's sister or cousin. Seg unions were not unusual among royal families in ancient Egypt, where marriages between close relatives were common. Another hypothesis claims that she was a Mitanni princess known as Taru Kippa. The meaning of her name, "the beautiful woman has come," has fueled speculation that she may have been of foreign origin. Like the other theories, however, this idea remains unproven and introduces as many uncertainties as it resolves. Although the precise date of her marriage is unknown, historians believe Nefertiti wed Amenhotep when she was just 15 years old. At the time of their marriage, Amenhotep had not yet taken the throne. That would come soon after. From approximately 1353 to 1336 BC, the couple are thought to have ruled Egypt as equals. Together, they had 6 daughters: Meritaten, Meketaten, Setepenra, Ankhesenpaten, Ankhesenamun, Neferneferuaten, and Neferneferure Tasherit. They may also have had a son. The royal family resided in several palaces and ceremonial complexes around Karnak. Among the most remarkable was a temple known as the Gempaten, dedicated specifically to Nefertiti. Historical records indicate that in the 3rd year of their reign, the couple hosted an elaborate festival at this temple. One relief portrays Nefertiti and Amenhotep, accompanied by their daughters, standing in the royal court and observing the gathered crowds from a raised vantage point. Art from this period frequently presents the pair as inseparable and even depicts them sharing public displays of affection. Such imagery has led some scholars to suggest that the two shared a genuine emotional bond, something rarely shown in depictions of ancient pharaohs and their consorts. Nefertiti is generally believed to have remained loyal to her husband, despite evidence that he fathered children with other women, possibly including the future king Tutankhamun. Throughout her lifetime, Nefertiti accumulated an extraordinary list of titles: Hereditary Princess, Great of Praises, Lady of Grace, Sweet of Love, Lady of the Two Lands, and Mistress of Upper and Lower Egypt, among many others. Inscriptions portray her as a ruler deeply involved in every dimension of court life. She also served as high priestess, granting worshippers access to the god Aten through her presence. This role placed her at the very center of Egypt's new religious order. One of the most striking aspects of Nefertiti's legacy is her appearance in royal art wearing the crown of a pharaoh. This unusual portrayal has led many archaeologists to believe she wielded pharaonic authority and was regarded as her husband's true equal. Some even argue that following Akhenaten's death and before the reign of Tutankhamun, Nefertiti ruled Egypt alone under the name Neferneferuaten. Evidence also suggests that Nefertiti may have been a remarkably hands-on ruler. Among the many reliefs found in ancient tombs is a scene showing her raising a weapon against a foreign captive. This imagery hints that one of Egypt's most powerful women, co-ruler and divine intermediary to Aten, may have also taken on the role of royal enforcer. Of course, it's also possible she simply enjoyed striking prisoners. Hard to say. When Amenhotep IV ascended the throne, he inherited a wealthy and stable empire. Yet alongside Nefertiti, he would transform Egypt in profound ways. Their most radical act was replacing the traditional state religion with exclusive worship of the sun disk. The god Amun was cast aside in favor of Aten, and a new capital, Akhet-Aten, was established more than 200 miles north of the old seat of power. The ancient gods were gradually erased from public life. Their temples were closed, their priesthoods dismantled, and conversions were enforced. The pharaoh even ordered the construction of an entirely new city, Tel El Amarna, devoted solely to Aten, requiring the faithful to relocate there. To reinforce the significance of this spiritual shift, the royal couple went so far as to change their own names. Amenhotep took the name Akhenaten, while Nefertiti became Nefer-Neferu-Aten Nefertiti, a name that can be translated as "Beautiful are the beauties of Aten," and also, "A beautiful woman has come." To further secure their authority, the couple declared themselves the sole priests of Aten. This sweeping transformation was almost certainly unpopular among the Egyptian population. Openly opposing the pharaoh, however, was a reliable way to lose one's life, so most people complied. As time passed, Akhenaten grew increasingly hostile toward traditional religions and alternative belief systems, launching a prolonged and costly campaign to wipe them out. The result was a kingdom burdened by debt and thrown into instability. Conditions might have deteriorated even further, but Akhenaten died before the situation fully collapsed. After ruling Egypt alongside her husband for 16 years, Nefertiti suddenly vanishes from the historical record. The reason for her disappearance remains unknown, though several explanations have been proposed. Akhenaten and Nefertiti caused deep political upheaval during their reign, prompting later rulers to actively erase their memory. Monuments were defaced, records destroyed, and it is possible that the final chapter of Nefertiti's life was lost along with them. Another theory suggests that Nefertiti simply died. Evidence supporting this idea comes from the fact that their daughter, Merit-Aten, is documented as serving as the great royal wife during the final years of Akhenaten's reign. This could indicate that Merit-Aten stepped into her mother's role after Nefertiti's death. Other scholars believe Nefertiti did not disappear at all, but instead became co-regent, ruling under the name Smenkhkare. According to this view, she shared power with Akhenaten in his later years and continued to govern after his death until Tutankhamun was old enough to take the throne. Notably, Merit-Aten is also recorded as the consort of Smenkhkare. In 1898, archaeologists excavating the tomb of King Amenhotep II uncovered 3 unidentified mummies hidden behind a sealed wall. Located in the Valley of the Kings, the tomb contained the king himself and the remains of a young woman whom some believed could be Nefertiti. More than a century later, in 2010, Egypt's Minister of State for Antiquities Affairs, Zahi Hawass, announced that DNA tests had revealed the so-called younger lady mummy was actually Akhenaten's sister. The findings did not end there. The same tests indicated that the younger lady was also the mother of King Tutankhamun. For a time, the case appeared closed, until 2013, when French Egyptologist Marc Gabold challenged Hawass's conclusions. Gabold argued that the younger lady was, in fact, Nefertiti herself. If this interpretation is correct, it would mean that Tutankhamun was Nefertiti's son. One of the most enduring puzzles surrounding Nefertiti, however, involves a famous bust that portrays the queen with one empty eye socket. For a figure whose very name celebrates beauty, the missing eye is a striking and unusual detail. Scholars have debated its meaning ever since the sculpture was discovered. One possibility is that Nefertiti had a natural fold of skin covering her eye, a feature not uncommon in ancient Egypt. Another theory suggests the absent eye was intended as a deliberate insult. Or perhaps it was simply the result of damage to a bust that originally depicted both eyes. One of the most romantic explanations centers on the sculptor himself, a man named Thutmose. According to this theory, he fell deeply in love with Nefertiti. When his feelings were not returned, he supposedly left one eye of the bust unfinished, turning it into a symbol of the queen's inability to see the depth of his devotion. Nefertiti, after all, is legendary for her beauty. Every known bust and painting portrays her with features that would have been considered ideal in her time. Yet some modern researchers are beginning to question how accurate that image truly is. By using CT scans on the famous 3,400-year-old bust created by Thutmose, scientists were able to examine what appears to be the original facial form hidden beneath its outer layers. The scans revealed subtle but notable differences: a small bump along the bridge of the nose, fine wrinkles on the cheeks and near the mouth, and shallower contours around the eyes. These findings have led some experts to believe that the royal sculptor deliberately crafted an idealized version of the queen. Another equally plausible idea is that Akhenaten himself demanded that his wife be portrayed as more beautiful than she actually was. Whatever the truth may be, the face we recognize today as Nefertiti likely did not perfectly reflect her real appearance. In 1912, German archaeologists uncovered the now famous bust of Nefertiti created by Thutmose and transported it to Germany under official permission from the Egyptian government. Exactly how that permission was obtained remains something of a mystery. At the time, Egypt was under Ottoman control, while also being governed by the British. And to complicate matters further, the nation's antiquities service was run by the French. Despite these complexities, by 1913, the bust was already on public display at the Neues Museum in Berlin. When the Nazis later rose to power, they seized the sculpture, along with many other invaluable works of art, and concealed them for safekeeping. When questioned about Nefertiti's bust, Adolf Hitler reportedly declared, "I will never relinquish the head of the Queen." After his death, American forces eventually discovered the sculpture hidden inside a salt mine and transferred it to a museum in West Berlin. In 2009, the bust returned to the Neues Museum, which had finally been restored after suffering heavy damage during World War II. Egypt's government, however, maintains that the sculpture was unlawfully taken and continues to challenge Germany's claim to legal ownership. So, what do you think? Which part of Nefertiti's story do you find most fascinating? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And while you're here, be sure to explore some of the other videos on our Protagonist channel.